Hello everyone, welcome to the brief tutorial on the ITR tool and demonstration. So the ITR tool is a dynamic onboarding tool that you can use when getting clients and preparing their tax return. It's dynamic because it changes the questions based on the answers provided by the client on the fly in the return itself. You can do this when adding new clients or re-engage current clients. So here we've got Clayton Wood, we're going to re-engage him. Click on the re-engage button. Here's his details that he's going to confirm. Here's the ITR tool that we're talking about. We're going to choose the file. We're going to upload his pre-fill. We're going to upload his ATO pre-fill, and that will allow him to check the pre-fill when he's onboarding. We can also edit and customize our tax return engagement letter. So here it is here. This is the tax return engagement letter that he's going to sign and confirm, and we're going to mark that as done. You could deploy a tax return job when re-engaging or onboarding the client to XPM, but right now we're going to send for re-engagement. Clayton will get an email with a link, get an SMS, and he can log in. Now we've logged in as Clayton Wood, and we're going to start doing the re-engagement, which includes the ITR tool, which is listed here in the list of tasks for Clayton to do. Clayton will confirm his details have changed and go through and update his address or bank details if required. In this case, they haven't. Now, as a part of the request, he's going to confirm his job and that he's doing his tax return. So in this case, he could be a retail worker. It'll look up the ANSI codes for a retail worker, or maybe he's an accountant. Which kind of accountant would dictate which one he will select. So in this case, maybe he's a chartered accountant. Maybe he's an Australian citizen, maybe he's not. It will dynamically change and ask questions based on what he answers. Also, it asks about HEX. Maybe he's got a HEX debt. Maybe he's got child support. Put the amounts in that will reflect what I need to answer. Here is the question. If I didn't upload an ATO pre-fill document, this section here wouldn't show, but I could still say yes or no. In this case, I can view the pre-fill, I can download the pre-fill as a client, and I can agree, or maybe I say no, and I can put in my answer here. No, the interest from the ATO was incorrect. And I'll save and continue. This is where it gets tricky, and you can customize it as a firm. So we've got lots of help and guidance here for clients, but it's like a work paper. They can say yes or no to the different questions. So if they say yes, they've got wages and salary, they can key it in, but more importantly, they can also upload optional files. You can also not show items like salary and wages so that it doesn't show for clients, because generally salary and wages is on the pre-fill. But sometimes it doesn't show. So in this case, let's say he's got dividends. So we've got the example bank, and they've given us $1,000. It will calculate the franking credits. We can upload the documents for that. Here's the attached dividend statement. I'm going to save that. Maybe he's got two. So the other one is the CBA bank, and he got $2,500 worth of dividends. We'll attach another dividend statement to that. Thanks for coming. Save. Maybe he's got crypto. Yes, we know. They can say yes or no. They're probably going to get caught with the ATO anyway. So in this case, we'll say we've got CoinSpot, and we're going to upload our CoinSpot statement. So here's our cryptocurrency statement. We're going to upload that. Note all the different file types we can accept. They could upload their CSV or Excel documents. We'll save that. Now, there could be a managed fund or a rental property. So in this case, we're going to do the beach house rental. You can put the property details in there. Clearly it's going to be a good beach house rental in Dean Street, Albury. How many weeks? 52 weeks. The income, $18,000. Again, the client can help fill out some of this information that you're going to need to prepare the tax return. Now, they can also attach documents, supporting documents. So it could be the rental property information. I can put additional comments. Maybe it wasn't available for rent for the whole year. Save it, attach. If they've got multiple rental properties, they could add an additional rental property. In this case, I'm just going to add one. For the sole trader option, they can upload sole trader documents. and maybe they've got a calculation sheet that they will upload, or you can share one with them. Continue on. Here are the deductions. It's all dynamically changing. So if they've got a vehicle, they can put their vehicle details in, to and from work, because that's how everyone claims it. And is the vehicle registered in their name? Yes. Is it per kilometre? Maybe they've got 4,500. Maybe they've got 5,000 Ks. It'll also calculate out the deduction for them. But logbook dynamically changes, easily to identify for the client, and calculates the information you require. How many weeks is the logbook? Maybe it's 12. How much fuel? $5,000. Registration, $550. Different costs, all can go in there. Maybe they bought it, maybe they did nothing, they can leave it. We'll upload our logbook because everybody needs a logbook, and of course the client's going to provide that. Save that, continue on. Next question, travel. Did I have travel? Yeah, I had travel. I took public transport and taxis, and it was $250, and I can attach some documents for that. Maybe they've got uniform. They can attach some uniform. Perhaps they've got self-education. This will go through and ask them, how did they do it? Maintain their level of skill? What type of education? Cost was it? It was fees. I spent $2,500. Education related. Was there a vehicle expense? It'll ask them. Was there childcare? Can they upload some files? They can have multiples of it. Donations. Enter in donations. Pretty simple and straightforward. Tax preparation. Of course they want to claim our fees from last year. Work from home. Another tricky one. Are they doing it as a fixed rate hourly amount? And do they have evidence? And how many hours was it? Do they have a dedicated workspace question? So these are the questions designed as a bit of a gotcha, bit of a gotcha, but it's also to make sure that they're answering the questions truthfully, and we can save that. But also, maybe they're using the actual fixed cost method. We go through and explain that with a bit of detail so that they can work through it. Save and continue. Other work-related expenses. So they might add one or more of these. So as a client, generally they'll always have these weird random deductions, and this is where they can add them in. Save and continue. Family and health. So maybe they've got a dependent or 5. Perhaps they have a spouse, or was it for the full year or was it not for the full year? Can they put that in? Private health cover. Sometimes it's handy. Sometimes it also dictates, it allows us to figure out what rebate they're getting there. Medicare levy exemption, maybe they're exempt. They're probably not. They probably think they are. We'll continue on. These are some options that you can turn on and off in the return itself. So in this case, I'm going to request that my tax return be done by the end of the month. Any additional details? No, I want all my tax back, thanks. Because that's what every client wants, all the tax back. Now, in saying that, maybe they also want their last year's tax return and they can drop that into there, so therefore we've got that for comparative. You can turn on and off fee from refund, so you don't have to offer that. The terms and conditions, you can change the title and all of the contents of here for the substantiation declaration. But most of all, they can agree, I've got all my receipts and all my information. Save and continue, and now I've finished the ITR tool. The client can go back, it auto saves everywhere along the way, but they can go back and edit more information if they like. In this case, I'm going to continue on. Oh, better agree. They can add entities, they can continue. Here's my signature, here's all my information. I'm going to sign it and confirm it, complete. Job's done, thanks for coming. ITR tool, done. The last part about this I want to go over is the settings to the ITR tool. So when you're onboarding a client, re-engaging a client, or doing their tax return, you might want to change some of the form options. So you can turn different fields on and off in the individual form and make them required. We recommend the bank details are required. Next, we want the ITR tool. So we can skip the hex problem in question, make the form shorter. We generally get the hex through ATO, so you could disable that. But some clients think that they need to tell you. You can leave it on. In this case, we can edit the description and add our own changes to the description of what the client sees, or we could disable it and not show that question at all. Maybe we refuse to think about crypto, so we can turn that off as well. Government allowances, maybe we don't need to show that because, again, that's on the portal. We don't need to ask. Questions, motor vehicle, all of these questions, you can turn them on or off and or change the edit the description. And this is the end part that I was talking about. So you could disable and hide where they get to pick the date or the due date. You could turn off fee from refund option so that they can't pick that as an option. And this is where you could change the wording on the substantiation directive. So change the wording on the label itself, and then they're going to confirm. I'm going to save the settings, and off we go. Now I've just changed the form. You can see some questions have been disabled. That is ITR tool. That's how firms can leverage it and have an online tax return in their firm.